Hi guys, the full name of the Tory party is the Conservative and Unionist Party, and we tend to forget the latter part. And it seems for Liz Truss the Unionist ending has either slipped her mind or she's ignoring it. Why? Because she has been in place for over a month now, and she has yet to pick up the phone and have a conversation with the second largest country in the Union. Nicola Sturgeon did call Truss to congratulate her on her Tory victory, but since then the Prime Minister has kept at least one promise. She's ignored the Scottish First Minister. Have a listen.
I've not yet had a phone call with her, which is, actually unprecedented. I had early phone calls with all of the other Prime Ministers in my time as First Minister. I hope we will meet soon, but the ball is in her court.
Are you surprised she hasn't phoned you at all or made that call when she's taken calls from world leaders and you're there as part of the United Kingdom?
Well, it's not just me. To the best of my knowledge, the same is true for the First Minister of Wales. We met in Edinburgh just last week or the week before, and that was certainly the case for both of us then. Am I surprised? In one sense, no, because this is the politician who, when she was sort of in the contest to be Prime Minister, talked about ignoring me and said other things about devolved administration. So she clearly doesn't have a lot of respect there. On another sense, yes, I am surprised because I've worked with David Cameron, I've worked with Theresa May, I've worked with Boris Johnson. Political differences with all of them, all brought different styles to that job, but spoke to all of them in the early days of that relationship and from there on. So yes, it is surprising. Is it arrogance? Is it lack of respect? Is it insecurity? Only she can answer that.
Only she can answer that. I said this before, that at least Boris Johnson, and I said as well, Boris Johnson was probably the greatest asset for the independence movement. Well, it seems now Liz Truss is a better asset for the independence movement. What I mean by that is that when Boris Johnson was Prime Minister, he was not popular in Scotland. He had to be sort of smuggled in under the cover of darkness to visit some pro-Tory constituencies there, normally along the border. For Liz Truss not to call the First Minister, okay, you don't expect her maybe to do it on the first few days or the first week even, but after a month, no phone call, no meeting. This is supposed to be the Conservative and Unionist Party. She doesn't have to agree with Nicola Sturgeon. She doesn't have to agree with Mark Drakeford, but she's supposed to meet with them, like to discuss what's happening, to discuss the cost of living crisis, to discuss the problems that are facing the country. But nothing. And I'm trying to get into the head of a unionist in Scotland. So somebody who votes Tory or is a member of the Labour Party, even somebody who believes in the union. What is going through their mind at the moment? You have the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom ignoring Scotland. How do you sell that to people who may be sitting on the fence when it comes to independence? This is, I've said before, I think the union is going to break up through neglect. Because you have Boris Johnson, who pretty much ignored Scotland, and now you have the Prime Minister ignoring the First Minister of Scotland. At least Boris Johnson, invited Nicola Sturgeon to number 10. They had meetings. I don't know what was discussed there. I don't know what the relationship was like, but at least there was some sort of communication. There was interaction. But with Liz Truss, there's nothing. She even said it, as Nicola Sturgeon pointed out here, I'm going to ignore Nicola Sturgeon. By default, that's I'm ignoring Scotland. Because I'm ignoring the First Minister of Scotland. And there are people who vote Tory in Scotland. There are people who believe in the union in Scotland. And you're ignoring them as well. Because the First Minister represents the people of Scotland. Both people who voted for her and people who didn't. It's just like Parliament once again. When an MP stands up and asks a question, they're representing their constituents. And their constituents are both people who voted for them and didn't vote for them. But they have a job to represent everyone. Doesn't have to be people who agree with them. They have to represent everyone. And Nicola Sturgeon represents the people of Scotland, whether you like her or not. She's there to represent the people of Scotland. And for the Prime Minister to ignore her, she's ignoring Scotland. In the same way that Nicola Sturgeon is ignoring Wales. Let's just ignore Northern Ireland completely here. Not us, but she's completely ignoring Northern Ireland. And Northern Ireland will remain ignored for the foreseeable future, until it's possible to pull it out as some sort of distraction. But as I said, the new union will die through neglect, because you have the people at the top who just don't care. Nicola Sturgeon is asking for meetings with Liz Truss, and Liz Truss is ignoring that. Mark Drakeford has asked for meetings with Liz Truss, and she has ignored that as well. Please, if there's a unionist on this channel who's watching this, please tell me what you think about all of this. For the rest of you, let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.